Okay, we'll take two. We'll take two on this bloody X drama here. Oh my gosh. Of course, the big one.
Drama,
Yeah.
drama. That's an
What
understatement, man.
oh man, I was in it. I clicked start and it started like going real slow. I'm like, okay, well, hopefully this all cooperates. People were joining in. And then it just like went frozen and showed people leaving. I'm like, what? Can you hear me? Oh my
What a
gosh.
bummer. Yeah,
Oh
it
man.
happens to the best of us. But I see
I hope I
Andrew
hope it's not
is
just
in
me
here.
because I think some people it's like if your mobile device doesn't play nice for a certain space, it just doesn't want to work.
You're not on an iPhone, are you?
No, man, I'm on Android.
That's why.
Maybe.
I'm not even joking. Like spaces are optimized for iPhones. They built it for the iPhone and then they ported it over.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a shame.
I know. I know. I agree with you. That's why the browser version of it is so janky, is because like, initially they built it out for iPhone users and they had to like
Uh,
reconstruct it to make it work on, Android and web. Because if they went, Android first, porting it over to PC be easy.
right. It makes a lot of sense now. This is like, it all makes sense. Why can't they just do things in a nicer way?
You got to do what I do. I got an iPhone burner and an Android burner that I use. So I switch between them.
I should have kept my old iPhone, the old one I had, like that someone had given me when I moved. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, this thing will never die. And it was the one where, the OS updates were optional. So you weren't getting the planned obsolescence in the mix where every update slows down your phone.
I know. Yeah. I have an iPhone 8 as one of my burners, to be honest with you. So I
Yeah,
totally get that.
that's it.
Hey, we got Andrew here.
Cool. I think we
Andrew,
have
can
Andrew up
you
here. Can you
hear
check your
us?
mic for us, buddy?
Yeah, yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
loud and
yes.
clear.
All right, great. Yeah, sometimes my computer switches mics on me, but hopefully this is clear for everybody.
Oh yeah.
You see,
Uh,
Andrew knows it's a little messy for spaces sometimes, especially on PC.
That was
yeah.
silky smooth, that mic. I'm telling you, that's you're right in the studio, my friend. Awesome. Cool. Well, we can get started. While you guys, maybe if you want to open up the space for us, action, if you have any special stuff stored or a little intro, I'll try and share this space, the new link out a little bit so no one misses out while you're filling everybody in.
You got it. Yeah. I mean, this is you putting me on the spot like I like to do with you every week, basically. So I appreciate everybody hopping on here. We're going to talk about MASQ and what's going on with HNS. We're going to have a chance to actually learn what this is all about. It's actually a really, really cool tech, and they've been announcing more and more partnerships, which is really exciting that MASQ just happens to be one of them. If you have not checked out MASQ browser, please do yourself a favor here and go to the MASQ browser website. That's just maskbrowser.com. You're going to see what the MASQ browser is all about, being able to browse the web in a more free way. To be honest with you, that's all it is. The way that the internet was meant to be, without borders. And we're excited to be in testnet right now and ramping up every single day, thanks to our users getting ready for a mainnet launch. And that mainnet launch is only going to be possible through partnerships, through people getting to use our platform and figuring out what the bugs are, what works, what doesn't work, and how we can make it better. So I appreciate every single one of you guys jumping in here and essentially being the users that are going to tell us what works, what doesn't work, and how we can make it better. Because ultimately, this is a community project built by the community for the community. And we're just here to, I'm just here along for the ride. But with that being said, I think we got a lot of cool stuff we can cover. And we should probably start with Corey. Who the heck are you? I'm wondering if he's back yet. There he is. There you
I'm
are.
here. I was racing around the Web3 universe, like throwing this link everywhere. Um, yeah, a little bit about, well, people who've tuned in every single week, you probably know quite a bit about me and the history with MASQ. And so the newcomers, hopefully a lot of people from the HNS Handshake community is going to join and learn about us, learn about what we're doing and partnering to do together. So a little bit about me, I've been in the space about 7 years. Then I was one of the co-founders of MASQ, and we started our journey about just over 4 years ago, and we're still building here. I'm the project lead. I have strong background in leading teams and a little bit experience in engineering and a little bit experience in like the TradeFi world, and kind of blending all that to really, achieve what I really believe in, which is just the future of the decentralized web, where there's no borders. It's built for the people. It's supported by the people, by the users, and we can really provide that freedom across the world. I really believe strongly in it, and I've got kids. I'm a family man, so when I look at them, I hope one day that that our tech is so widespread and mainstream that they'll probably be using it in their lives. So that kind of drives me, and I just really appreciate everybody supporting us. So yeah, it's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Beautiful. And today we have our special guest with us, Andrew. Andrew, I'm a big fan. More, I don't even know if you realize it, but dude, you're proof of work over there, aren't you?
Yeah. No, the first off, thanks for having us, or having me, and as well as integrating Handshake. I've gotten to use MASQ quite a bit, and it's really cool. Great tech, and you can really tell just the way the project's designed that you guys put privacy and just kind of doing the right things first, which vibes well with Handshake and Handshake's ethos. Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited about this partnership.
Awesome. And I say the whole proof of work thing just because I mean at heart what got me into crypto was mining. I mean I've been in the space for over a decade, and that's how I kind of kicked it off, was figuring out, oh, this is money I can get from my computer that's just sitting here. And yeah, I've actually been following Handshake for quite a bit. There hasn't been a new miner come out for Handshake in a little bit here. So I'm like, who's next? Who's going to come up with something? Just because even though they have been out for a little while, they're still profitable, and I love it. Anytime I get a chance to, be part of a network supporting something good and, essentially getting rewards from it, I'm game. So I appreciate you not only being here, but this partnership with MASQ is pretty exciting. So let's have that conversation around what's the partnership revolves around in the first place. I don't know if you want to talk about it, Andrew, or if you want Corey to kind of cover how Handshake is kind of changing the way people browse Web3.
Yeah, so just a quick note here. I mean, in terms of the partnership and what the Handshake is about. So Handshake is seeks to be as decentralized as possible, and we don't have a foundation. We just have very mission driven community members, and even this partnership, by the way, was basically put together by a community member. You got on Twitter, he goes by Open System, and he put this, I mean, I wasn't even really aware. I mean, the first I heard about it is when I was asked whether I'd be willing to, to jump on the spaces with you guys. So basically, I mean, this was definitely it's a community run, decentralized project. And yeah, we're recently going through a soft fork. And again, that hot soft fork itself too, had no direction from any of the people that founded Handshake. It had no funding from any of the people that funded started Handshake, and it's really cool. It's really cool, and I commend all the community members here, all the Handshake directors, for a great job in terms of making all this happen. I can't think of very many crypto projects that are true as decentralized as Handshake is, and so yeah, in terms of I mean, that's just the general ethos of Handshake. We're very much modeled after Bitcoin, and great admirers of Satoshi Nakamoto and kind of the way he did things. Of course, we have some differences in our approach, but overall, we've really tried our best to kind of model after them. And yeah, Handshake is basically a like I think when we think about kind of the internet and the naming system, how all of these things could be better. It's an alternative to both certificate authorities and kind of the and monopoly that ICANN has over all domain names. And you know, we definitely think yeah, while DNS is a cool system, that there is a very centralized component to it at the root zone, where ICANN controls the entire root zone, and Handshake is a decentralized alternative to it. So what you saw with the happening today, again, you know, that was designed and executed by the community. A bunch of new names are becoming available for bid, and so including like .Bitcoin and .India and things like that. And so you see a lot of activity in the community, you know, kind of bidding up those names. Last I checked, you know, .India had 3.5 million Handshake locked up on that name alone, and you know, it's very cool to see.
Yeah, it's super awesome. I mean, I've been inspired to watch the Handshake community for a little while, more from afar. And then when I started interacting with some of the community and hinting at us wanting to support it at MASQ, like honestly, just seeing that fire in the community, it is really amazing to see. And that sort of like decentralization passion that people have just to contribute and stuff. I mean, like you said, like big shout out to Open Systems. You know, they emailed me and just asked to talk about doing some kind of partnerships, which we'd always intended. Like I always had it on my like, here's the future of MASQ and Web3 sort of thing, where the gateway has all these interconnecting pieces. Handshake was always there because I was like, that's like as decentralized as you can get as an alternative to DNS, right? You know, you forked Bitcoin, you've got a secured proof of work blockchain. It's providing on-chain verification of ownership of a domain. I mean, you could list all the tech stuff, but at the end of the day, what it's providing is an alternative to the old gatekeepers that run pretty much the mail system. When I say like post mail, like the system of the internet where you want to go to an address, you know, a postman's got to take you there to the right street, the right number, and get the content or deliver the content, right? And we've got an alternative that you guys have built. So yeah, it's like, to me, that if you're not listening closely and watching, like these are pieces falling firmly into place into what should be like a really expansive Web3 infrastructure, you know, where the users get access through decentralized means.
Yeah. Hey, so Corey, I have a few questions for you. So I started using a MASQ browser, and yeah, and it's been an amazing experience. I see you know, kind of like the way it works, you know, with the routing, routing the traffic amongst kind of the peer-to-peer network, and that there's an incentive system related that uses the MASQ token to kind of facilitate all that and to incentivize the system. So it's my understanding. So I mean, when I went through the experience, when I first downloaded MASQ, I guess I got some tokens. Is that correct? I got some tokens just for downloading?
Yeah, so we're in testnet now. So everything's free to use. Everyone listening, if you want to try it out, you can. It's public. It is a beta product, so it's constantly being worked on and getting bugs reported, and, you know, upgrades and then features. But we have a testnet token on Polygon Mumbai, and so when you start up as a new user or create a new wallet, it's going to double check the wallet on chain and say, oh, this is a brand new user because there's no TMASQ. That's our test token, TMASQ. There's nothing in here. We're going to airdrop. So we custom designed like a basic faucet, which has like some civil resistance built in. And essentially, you get airdropped some tokens to use on testnet. And if you run a little low, it actually will kick in and airdrop you some more. So you can just use it. So right now, everyone can use it for free. Try it out. And then, of course, this is a stress testing period as well for when we turn on later this year mainnet on Polygon, which is where the real token goes live. You can find us on ETH and Polygon. And basically, that's the real monetization model. So it's sort of like imagining if Tor was incentivized in some way, and all the Tor runners of hopping in between are getting paid, and then the Tor node that's running an exit node, they get paid a little extra because they're doing the exit services. That's what MASQ is doing. And soon, very soon, one of the features we'll be implementing is the user can customize how many hops and across the world they want to do. So they might only want to do 2 for like faster speed, and 3 or more would be considered untraceable, meaning no hop would know where it's come from or where it's going, and you can go up to 6. So Yeah, that's a big deal. So that's where the incentive part comes in. So the token itself is pretty much a pure utility token.
Oh, that's very cool. So one thing that I've noticed is that there's been kind of like a convergence happening, between kind of like the browser space and the wallet space, right? If you download kind of like any of these newer wallets, like DeFi wallets or whatever, and they have like kind of like a browser, they have a browser built in, to the wallet, and then things like MASQ and other Web3 browsers like ship with the wallet in it too. And so like how do you kind of see the future? Because I do think like yeah, privacy for the internet, like browsing on the internet is definitely important. But privacy for payments, is like could be a really cool feature too. So does a privacy feature kind of like work on, or does it like enhance, does a wallet feature, I guess, enhanced by the by the MASQ kind of routing system?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually some aspects of the tech that we've already sort of scoped for the future. And one of them is something you're referring to lightly, actually, is where, we're very aware of the world doesn't all share the same freedoms from place to place, right? So some countries still have very heavy restrictions, if not have banned crypto and banned digital assets completely. And obviously those users who want to act in the space or do anything in the space, they have to use VPNs, they have to use Tor, they have to use various things like that. So right now, our wallet that you see in the MASQ browser is a very simple application where it's just generating a wallet or letting a user import the wallet. But in the browser, there's no maintaining or interacting with the wallet like a traditional one. You've also got to use like a mainstream wallet software. We ship it with MetaMask, another one soon to be announced as well, which is really exciting. And of course, Frame is in there too. But what this feature that we've thought about in terms of opening access to the world is we're going to design a way where someone can either specify when they start MASQ that they are in an area that's restricted, and it's going to try to route any communications to a blockchain service across MASQ as well. Now, we all know, like DNS, to get to a website, you need to have a name service that tells you, if I type in a human readable website, like let's say, I don't know, YouTube, it's going to tell my browser, oh, this is the IP address you got to go to, 111, blah, blah, blah. In the blockchain world, to interact with the blockchain, you need a service to take the information from the blockchain and give it to your wallet and then transmit your request to change the blockchain state back. Now, if that's not decentralized, anytime you interact with those services, your ISP or anyone watching can see that you're going to servers that are possibly restricted if they haven't outright banned them in the country using firewalls and stuff. So MASQ will be able to hop that traffic so someone who's actually banned from crypto can go ahead and interact with this stuff, and those services are going across MASQ as well. So anyone watching, they're just seeing traffic go to a couple, well, it only looks like one to them, to one peer, but then it's hopping out of their country and it's going to a country which has open freedom to crypto and stuff. So that is a huge thing because we want to unlock that freedom, not just of information, but also of the digital world, like crypto, like Web3, like metaverse, all those types of things. Some countries are facing a lot of barriers to that. So that's a big deal. And for the unbanked of the world as well.
Oh, yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, so no, good questions, man. And we do want to like experiment a little more with some of the cool wallet tech that's coming out. Like there's a lot of ways that wallet tech is being matured, I guess, for the user, right? Like right now, it's still not quite grandma friendly, right? Like if you're trying to get your grandmother to onboard into crypto, like there's a lot of stuff you got to explain. You got to have them put a seed somewhere. You got to tell them, be careful with this, have a password, open this wallet. Here's your hex address, grandma. Oh, wait, well, you don't want a hex address that's got all these characters and numbers in it. We'll buy you a domain or an ENS or something, and it could be grandma.eth. Like all those things are so difficult for just the normal non-crypto person. And now we're finally seeing services come out that are super friendly, like 5 clicks. If anyone's been following account abstraction, where you can generate a wallet without a private key, which has recovery by email or social account or something like that. Like that's the future. So we're constantly looking at that too. So maybe someone who is brand new to crypto and their gateway to crypto is MASQ and HNS, browsing centralized sites. They don't need to learn everything about wallets and crypto to start out. They might have like a 10 to 15 second entry into that world with a wallet made for them, with a backup set up, and it's like, you know, friendly. And that's got to be the future, or else we're not going to onboard the next billion users to Web3 at all.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And yeah, and I do see, you know, a lot of crypto getting easier to use over time. You know, the different wallets and browsers and things like that. But one of the downfalls, I mean, I think a lot of them kind of compromise on decentralization and or privacy to quite an extent, where you start to wonder what is the purpose of crypto here. And so yeah, I mean, like one example, I was at a private dinner a few weeks ago, and one of the I guess blockchain analysis companies were there, and their representative was kind of like, you know, I mean, they're kind of selling their product, selling their capabilities. And what was surprising to me is that they even had a guarantee for how they would recover funds from like a hack or a theft. And it didn't, you know, it didn't extend to all chains, but like, you know, on most of the EVM chains and the stables related to them, like, that was it was basically guaranteed. They said, hey, we like, you know, almost as an insurance policy, that they could guarantee that they could recover those funds. And you know, I mean, and that's only possible because a lot of the infrastructure is you know, leaking privacy, right? How else would something like that be possible? And so yeah, I mean, I think you know, yeah, making things easy, but still, you know, I'm serving kind of the values and virtues of crypto. I think is important.
Oh yeah, it's all got to go hand in hand. Yeah,
that's super scary.
Sorry.
No, you're good, but that's super scary that somebody's willing to guarantee that they can recover funds from a decentralized, well, quote unquote, decentralized blockchain, right? Like, that scares me. I got to be honest. Like, that is not a world I want to live in, because ultimately it means that, you know, there's an on and off button almost to some of these things. Not that I'm saying the Solana can turn things on or off, but that can happen.
Yeah.
Oh man, we just saw another what we call brownouts, right? You know, we're going to call them brownouts, not blackouts.
Yeah.
Brownouts on chain. But you're right. That means that there's a level of custody in there, or I guess maybe they're just doing pure risk insurance where they're confident in the security model. If they get hacked, then they'll just repay whatever's lost. But this is why there was a huge public uproar about Ledger putting out their recovery tool, which, you know, is kind of like showing that there's a lot of very large trust factors that you have to have in the hardware creator, the hardware producer. That maybe people didn't realize, you know, and I guess that kind of links into Handshake too, right? Like right now, okay, we'll give you a real world example, right? There's a lot of cancel culture in the world, but also the powers that be, they like to have some control over the free flow of information or what they deem to be real information. Right now, there's a very prominent U.S. Journalist who's in Russia, and he's about to do an interview, probably live and uncensored, I think he said, with Vladimir Putin. Now, there's a lot of media outlets and a lot of probably platforms that are going to either deplatform this content or censor it because they don't like it. Now, if it goes all the way to the top and someone has a domain that's going to stream this, I'm sure that there's ways the powers that be could go to ICANN and say, look, take that domain offline, or mark it as, you know, red flagged and don't serve that content or cross any DNSs that we have relationships with. You know, like that is a real censorable outcome that could happen right now. And
you think my government would do something like that? You think that they...
Well, I don't know, man. Well, actually, you know, if the leaders could string together 3 letters and remember them, maybe. You know, DNS, HNS, I don't know if they remember that. But you know what I'm saying? This is a real world thing, and it could happen. This is the stuff people don't think about.
It's not could happen, Corey. I think that's the biggest problem of all. It is happening, and it's not always at the ICANN level, right? But it comes down to companies right at this moment, right? Elon said that this platform is going to be free and clear. However, that's not the case for everybody. I mean, we saw recently that even Amazon were delisting books because they didn't go alongside to what their narrative was. Doesn't matter if they were correct, if they were true. They just didn't want it out there, so it got pulled. Like, that's a scary thing, and it's a hop and a skip between Amazon saying we'll go ahead and hide these books to Amazon going, you know what, we're going to go ahead and hide these servers. It's the same thing that we're working with here, and having the ability of having something truly decentralized. Because to a certain extent, I don't care who you are. It's like, oh yeah, we're not decentralized. We're not on AWS. We're on Akash. Fantastic. How do people get to your site? How do people actually find you? They still have that centralized portion where ICANN is the entity that controls everything. So, having Handshake come in and make that, making the decentralization of domain names a reality is a game changer.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the principle around this is a system is only decentralized as its most centralized component. If it has centralized choke points, this is where governments and the powers that be will attempt to censor or cancel you. And so yeah, DNS is ultimately a very centralized component. I mean, where the root zone is, and ICANN is literally a spinoff of the U.S. government, and so and it is somewhat odd that like in a global, like where the internet's used all over the world, that a spinoff of the U.S. government kind of controls all of that. So that in and of itself is I think a good reason for foreign for the international community to want to switch to something else.
Yeah, I think it's just important, first of all, because there's a lot of trailblazing still going on, and obviously there's a big rise to naming. I guess you could call like naming systems or on-chain names. You can see a big rise of a bunch of players that are sprouting up recently. Maybe it's a good idea for you as well, just to highlight like what Handshake is doing or how it stands as differently. I mean, I know a lot of the aspects, but for anyone listening, what's different to you guys? If someone was to compare, hey, what's the difference between ENS or these other ones that you buy an on-chain ID sort of thing?
Yeah. So what's unique about Handshake is it's a single purpose blockchain specifically built around naming. So it has like DNS built in, and it also targets kind of the root zone. And I think other projects, ENS is cool, but one of the things that they run into is primary use cases for payment addresses, right? And just the notion that you would use human readable names for payment addresses is a little odd to me. Like, if you really think about what the purpose of crypto is and things like that, I mean, it's basically the opposite of preserving privacy, right? And you can kind of see even from like the ENS founders and things like that, whenever they sell off their ENS tokens and things like that, they don't use their ENS name or their .eth name. So I mean, it's kind of like, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I get like, instead of copying and pasting like a large string to pay somebody, is could be a little bit odd, but I think just using one address that doesn't cycle is also a little odd as well. But yeah, anyway, Handshake, the kind of, I mean, it's a general purpose naming system, and you can use it for payment addresses, you can use it for websites, you can host content.
Due to technical problems, the X space had to be restarted at this point.
Man, I have no idea why everything is not friendly today with X. We do the spaces every week and we never have this issue. Thank you for bearing with us, everybody. We've got the second half of the spaces. I'm just inviting Andrew back up. Sorry about this, guys. Not sure if it was from I don't know. I honestly am standing here with like a wired headset on with nothing touching the screen, and it just turned off. It ended. It was probably because Andrew was about to drop some really like high level alpha and explanations. All right, let's get you guys up here. Add as a speaker. All right, I've sent you a co-host link as well, Andrew. Sorry that cut off on you, buddy.
He was on a roll too. He was like mid-sentence when it went down.
Oh man, I'm like glancing at the screen and literally it just goes like play recording. It just showed that screen. I'm like, oh my God, no.
A time limit that's set on these things, or
No, you can't set time limits on it. That's the craziest part. It's just happening.
So bizarre. Well, what we're going to do to make up for this is we're going to get one of our awesome team members to cut this together into one YouTube link, one recording, and then we'll play it all for everybody in one go. If you miss it, if you tune in.
So that means that, Andrew, you can keep going and finish that thought.
Yeah, we'll just edit it, bro.
I kind of forget where I was.
Oh, sorry about this, guys. But yeah, I think you were talking about how it's a general purpose blockchain that's built for DNS.
Oh yeah. So yeah, but how it's different? It's the root zone. And it's a general purpose it has DNS kind of built in, and you can use it for all kinds of different names, including payment addresses. Whereas a lot of the Web3 kind of use case seems to be around payment addresses and kind of I guess sharing your financial data, which is a little odd. It's like kind of like putting your bank statement on chain or something like that. Anyway, to any effect. Yeah, I mean, I do think one kind of use case I think for the other chains that that need or want naming solutions is possibly like to root their names on Handshake itself. Like I guess like one idea. I mean, one thing that's kind of come up is that, like for example, with ENS and .eth, nothing's preventing another company or another individual or another actor from spinning up a new contract and selling .eth names too, right? Or any of the other kind of Web3 names. So I mean, yeah, with ENS, they have .eth on Handshake, and so perhaps one thing where they can kind of avoid collisions on other blockchains is to kind of use Handshake as the root for the names. But yeah, I mean, as a community, I think it's important to kind of to see what everybody else is doing, play friendly, play nice, and see if there's ways to work together around all these naming solutions.
Awesome. And I'm real glad that no one is squatting on the .eth domain on Handshake, just so that partnership and intercompatibility could be possible. There's a lot of squatters out there,
Yeah. Well, so .eth was reserved for them, because
Nice.
and they claimed it on chain when Handshake launched. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the newer names for different crypto communities, yeah, a lot of them actually just came up for auction, and hopefully we can get those names to the right hands.
Yeah, I like the auction style too. I know you guys, the Handshake founders in the original protocol, like put a lot of thought into how those auctions will run to avoid, unfair outcomes and stuff like that. And that's why the happening is such a big deal, right? Wasn't it like 70,000 domains that are highly desired and brands that are coming live now?
Yeah. So basically, when we started, we wanted to kind of avoid this, squatting kind of issue with trademark names or names that people kind of think of, kind of other things, and so we reserved the top 100,000 Alexa names. So basically, the top 100,000 websites in the world, in addition to like ICANN TLDs and things like that, and so for example, like .com, .io, these types of TLDs are reserved for the people that kind of control .io and .com today, which is like .verisign or what have you. But in terms of the top, so in terms of this hard fork, or I mean soft fork, I'm sorry, the names on Alexa from like 10,000 to 70,000, or 10,000 to 100,000 roughly, but are being released for auction, and then but the top 10,000 names are still reserved and still locked, so that people, so that you can't get like .google or something on or Twitter or something on Handshake, and those are reserved for the actual owners, yeah, and so I mean, and another thing to kind of note, and you mentioned auctions, is that whenever you buy a Handshake TLD, that money does not go to like some Handshake company or some Handshake foundation. I mean those funds are burned, and which is also a differentiator from other Web3 names. And there, so if you look at the India bidding today, there's like $3.5 million worth of, or million HNS that have been placed to bid on India, and the winning bid, or I mean, it's technically the second highest bid. Those coin that coin amount would be burned and taken out of circulation, and which is basically a redistribution to everybody in the Handshake ecosystem. Yeah, I know with a lot of other Web3 names, like on different chains, like those funds, when you buy a dot whatever dot crypto name or something, those funds go directly to that company, right? And so and that company, what's their provenance for having dot crypto? I mean, they just said they own dot crypto and then started collecting names from it, which is kind of like a very weird, at least with ICANN, you kind of have to like pay ICANN and to issue a TLD, and you've got to like go through some effort to gain a TLD, whereas like in a lot of these other chains, it's kind of it's questionable whether it's an improvement from a fairness or decentralized perspective compared to ICANN. And what are we all doing here if we're not trying to improve the status quo, right?
So that's so right. Just curious, does like a community member own .crypto, or was that reserved as well, the Handshake one?
I believe it came up for auction and someone bought it. I don't know the history behind this name, but yeah, I mean there's a company in the Ethereum space that basically claims like, hey, they own .crypto or something, and they're quite litigious as well. I don't know if it's specific to the .crypto name or anything else, but I mean their model is like, hey, I own whatever. Some random name, and then they go around selling SLDs, and then they collect all the entire payment for whatever people pay for those SLDs, and sometimes they even kind of rug the entire name and just say like, hey, never mind, you guys don't own these names. I mean, that kind of behavior and that kind of system is arguably much worse than the ICANN system, whereas with ICANN, you wouldn't expect that kind of thing to happen. So, yeah, I mean, look, I do think there's better players. There's a spectrum of solutions in the Web3 space, and of course, it's crypto, so you're going to have some grifters as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of us know who you mean, and it's an interesting play. Let's say that. Actually, one more thing on that with some of these reserve names. What do you think will happen with .google and .ICANN? Do you think, I assume those are probably still reserved, do you think they will be claimed by the powers that be?
Well, I mean, I think they'll probably be the last adapters. Perhaps like, I think, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of other things will happen, like browser integrations, ISP integrations. I mean, a lot of different things will happen before I think they decide like, hey, let's go with a decentralized solution. I mean, I mean, they've been built in that whole business is kind of interesting with ICANN and VeriSign and and that whole kind of like cabal. I mean, our first kind of idea with naming systems was to do something kind of similar to Dotbox, where we bought a TLD from ICANN. And had SLDs compatible available on a blockchain, and so that was our first idea. But what the issue that we ran into, well, is that when going through that process, it turns out there's like two or three different law firms that specialize in this, and you kind of like they'll kind of tell you that you have to hire these law firms in order to be able to have any chance of getting a name. And then the second thing is, the ICANN wanted to charge like, I think it was like $175,000 for the application, not without, that came with no guarantees that we get the name. And so you kind of like stack up kind of like, like the cost of all this, and you can, and then the law firms, the lawyers at the law firms themselves were former ICANN and VeriSign employees. And so you like look at the system and you're like, wait, do we really want to kind of like play nice with the system, or like kind of integrate with the system in that way? I mean, it is quite a racket. The whole like TLD kind of like ICANN VeriSign system. So we decided to do something different and just kind of try to decentralize the root zone altogether, and attack the cabal at the root.
Yeah, pun intended, man. That's right. Mm-hmm. And I think I share I know we share deep down a lot of the ethos at MASQ, right? We're trying to disrupt the browser space, build something that hasn't been done before, not build it for profit, not build it to monetize people's data and user, personal information and marketing through ads and all of that, which has been modeled in many other, browsers in the space. And look, I mean, there's pros and cons of all that. But if there's a true path of decentralization to do it in, it's not easy to walk that path, but someone's got to do it. Like someone has to try to do it. And hopefully you pick up the support and the passion from others along the way. And I feel like you guys and girls have all certainly done that at Handshake. And I know a lot of our MASQ maxis are here too, listening in, because, this is the power of that collaboration. That's what I love about Web3, man. Action and I talk about it all the time. Like there's such low barrier to collaboration. It's surprising that more people aren't more collaborative in the space, but stuff like this can happen organically, like what we're doing now with HNS and MASQ, just communities coming together, founders coming together. Like they're not talking about money, like, oh, you do this and I'll pay this, and you do this, I'll pay. It's none of that. It's like, who's the winners at the end? The users and community. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add, like, all of our major partnerships, I mean, like, yeah, including this one, wasn't driven by some foundation or by us. I mean, this was like even the Namecheap collaboration. I mean, Namecheap, they're definitely legends in the space. I mean, adopting Bitcoin in 2013 and Handshake, just a few years ago. But they did that all on their own. I mean, they get what this is about. And we had very little or nothing to do with it, and so yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see a kind of a decentralized community work. Yeah, now, but there are, I mean, there are some downsides to having a decentralized community, right? I mean, it's not all just like, all positive. There are, like, for example, like, yeah, I was talking to somebody earlier about this today, but like, and kind of within kind of like, yeah, I'm a big kind of subscriber to like a lot of Adam Smith's ideas, including like division of labor, right? And so with Handshake, I mean, there's tons of talent. I mean, Handshake has so many like passionate missionaries, people talented at all different aspects, whether it's code or marketing or business development or just kind of communications or PR, and in a decentralized community, I mean, you kind of do get like everybody's trying to do everything. Like everybody wants to get involved with everything, which is great, but then it doesn't lead to like specialized roles, and it sometimes doesn't have like people put their best foot forward, I guess, for various kind of like partnerships. And so yeah, I mean, one of the ideas, one of the things I've been kind of like thinking a lot about is like, how do you have like, Handshake, Handshake volunteers, we call ourselves like directors. What are some ways that we can kind of assign assign or self-assign or you know, roles, directorships across different roles without necessarily like without having some centralized like appointee, I guess. Like I and I'm sure you know this from running companies too, but like, you know, whenever you have two different people like with the same roles and responsibilities, that's not like really an ideal solution, right? It's much better to have one person with one clear, you know, mandate or objective. If they overlap, you know, like then, you know, one party doesn't yeah, there's some confusion around who's responsible, you know, and you know, like one person will drop the ball because if the other person, they thought the other person was doing it, and these kinds of things. And so yeah, I do think Handshake has those kinds of challenges. I mean, and I'm sure, you know, just watching Bitcoin in the early days, it had kind of friction along those lines too. Yeah, I wonder if there's, you know, kind of ways to kind of resolve that while preserving decentralization. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Kyrie.
Yeah, it's definitely a growing pain of running remote organizations. You know, I wouldn't say we're as holistically decentralized as we'd like to be, you know, compared to Handshake, the way you guys operate. You know, you probably have protocols that are voted on to upgrade the protocol and stuff. And yeah, we're still sort of early, you know, in that evolution. But yeah, like you look over at how like, for good and bad, how crazy DAOs can get. And you see how there's a rise and fall of these various DAOs and the aspects they have to grow and delegate and all of that. I mean, it is a real growing area that is challenging in the space to manage talent and do it in an appropriate way that, you know, doesn't have the power in the few. So yeah, I mean, we've thought and tried lots of things over the years. I can't say I've got any, you know, real good solutions to what you've talked about in terms of, other than just trying to vote somehow and doing it through voting. But yeah, then, you know, then you got to sort of decide like what roles are most important, and you don't want anyone to like be turned off to contribute. So it's kind of like that whole balancing act, right, of managing large organization. But I have seen some, you know, definitely seen some cool things coming out in the way that people are trying to foster sort of DAO-like groups and incentivizing them, aligning incentives. That's probably the key, right, is aligning incentives. But at the same time, that alignment is in the direction, strategic direction you want, not just loads of people doing one thing. Really, it's great, but it's not like the best strategic move. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. Have you had any thoughts on like what Handshake can do to support SLDs? Like, I know we've kind of chatted a little bit when we had our call, what that might look like in the future.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a project that I recently found out about. I mean, HNS.id is pretty cool. They have on-chain SLDs on Optimism. And there was also a project called Forever Domains, which kind of had on-chain SLDs. Yeah, I mean, so I think there's a lot of different approaches to using SLDs on Handshake. Yeah, there's been the kind of EVM type way, and Forever Domains has and HNS.id has like kind of like two different approaches. Like HNS, I think Forever Domains, like you stake your. Although on HNSID, I think you stake your TLD on Namebase, and then on Forever Domains, you kind of like burn your TLD so that like, or something like that. I'll have to look into it deeper, but yeah, in terms of like on-chain SLDs, there are definitely a few solutions on Handshake, and yeah, and off-chain, having like kind of like a name server. I believe that's what like Namecheap does when it sells SLDs on Namecheap itself. And so yeah, I mean, there's lots of different options for having SLDs on Handshake, and I think that's pretty cool. One idea I had that relates to that, and it may be a little early. Maybe I should do a separate call with the Handshake community about this, but I do think there's some room to kind of like basically leverage like on-chain SLDs as a form of like community building, and there's definitely like, yeah, I see HeyTX here, and .c ape.c here. I mean, they've built kind of communities around their TLDs and .x as well. I think kind of like doubling down on that idea to a certain extent, using on-chain as SLDs and maybe like marrying it with content creators could be cool. But yeah, I mean, it's still kind of in ideation mode.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kind of squeezed a little bit of alpha from you, Andrew, before the community knew.
Very good job, Corey.
That's usually Action's job. You see, he's usually the squeezer of the juice.
I'm
The alpha
over
juice.
here trying to find some names. I got one that's just over $1,000, 25.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Don't say it
man,
on air. Someone might snatch
I
it up just
won't.
to spite
I won't.
you. You know?
I'm struggling over here. Like
Well,
I
if
don't have enough to
anyone-
go around.
I'd like to share the power of the generosity in the Handshake community because, okay, if you're listening and you own Action as the Handshake community, maybe we can organize the handoff to our dear friend here. Or if you own .ceo, maybe
Dude,
one of those
Action
two.
is up for sale. That's the one I'm talking about. It's bidding right now.
Oh,
39 blocks left, 7 hours.
oh man, maybe I'll jump on that for you and hook you up. It's the least I can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I'll add is like Handshake does have a very generous name gifting community, and yeah, and big shout outs to Andre, and HNS Broker and these guys. They've been very avid about kind of acquiring names and just gifting it to people. I think you told me a story, Kari, about one of these guys gifting you guys MASQ too, and so I mean, yeah, the Handshake community is really amazing. It's definitely missionaries who believe in the values and yeah, and I think overall it's an excellent partnership with MASQ.
And that's why people stick around, man. I'll be honest with you. Like that's how I got introduced to crypto, is with communities that essentially were there to support each other, that were giving out free tokens just because it was fun. Like they just wanted to help the community grow. And when you have a community that way, like it just changes the game. It honestly changes the game for everybody that's looking from the outside in. They're like, wait, so this is not about just making money and taking advantage of other people. Like it just honestly changes the game. And when you're talking about influencers, like you're not going to get the big name influencers that are essentially just getting paid to show the stuff. You're going to get the people who actually care about the space and want to see it grow and flourish. And it's exactly what you need to stick around long term and be looked at as a leader in the space. I mean, the Handshake's been around for a while now, and it's not going to go anywhere. And it's not because you give stuff away. It's because you care enough to have those community members who do give stuff away. Like the caring part of it is where it all comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that culture really does allow things to grow, and sometimes you don't have the massive boom that some other projects do where they are throwing around, influencer funds and all this type of stuff. You'll get like a slow, steady burn of progress. And that's what we're seeing now. It's all these things we're doing have taken some time, even the Handshake, crew getting the happening rolled out. I mean, it takes time. Sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years, but that sustainability and core culture is so much more valuable than everything else. You can't buy culture. You can't buy loyalty, to a certain degree. You can, I guess, these days, but you really can't buy true loyalty. And that comes with passionate people. So I did want to say, massive shout out to Open Systems, but also to Andre. That was how we got our domain. Like, it's funny because I was bidding on it and I wanted to bid on it. I was slowly buying some HNS, and I saw, it was listed for like 49,990, so almost 50,000 HNS, which to us wasn't, we were like, we're going to acquire it. And then this was before we made any formal announcements about Handshake. And one night I go on, this really late at night, I'm like, okay, maybe tonight's the night I have enough, I'm going to bid. And sure enough, it was sold. And I'm like, what? And it was sold for 5,000 or something in HNS. I'm like, no, I missed it. And they even got it like, at a good deal. And sure enough, the next day I got an email and Andre was like, listen, I want to gift you guys this. I believe in what you're doing. You guys have a great project. And I was like, cool, man. Like this really shows like that culture, which is so special. You guys are a rare breed. Everyone listening to from the Handshake crowd, like you guys are a rare breed in the space. Testament to leadership like Andrew and others who fostered this all these years. And man, it's really cool. And I'm just inspired to be able to build with you guys, to be fair. Yeah, it's a cool opportunity.
Yeah, and yeah, all the credit goes to the Handshake community. I mean, for the most part, the Handshake founders after we launched, like basically, we kind of, yeah, we created space for the community to grow, right? And there's very in terms of this partnership or the soft fork, there's very little or nothing that we've done. It's mostly it's all been the community. So, all credit goes to the community here.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple other like superstars too I want to mention because I've had a really cool opportunity to get to know them, chat with them, also helping us with some of these integration goals we have. Rithvik, I saw he was listening in earlier, and Nathan Woodburn, you guys are superstars, built a lot of cool stuff already. Super excited to see what you guys are continuing to build. And obviously, thanks for all the help for us, trying to get these things to work together. Yeah, super awesome. And I see a whole bunch of Handshake domains, like, for the people's X names and stuff. I might do a little giveaway. Should I do a giveaway action just for all the fans here?
Yeah, if you want. And I've told you, Corey, if you ever want to give out wallets, like feel free to give out. I have a stockpile of SafePal wallets. Somebody rugged me in the space, but I had their stock, so I kept it. So feel free to always give that out. Like I'll ship it anywhere in the world for you.
Wow. Well, if you want to jump on here, like that would be pretty cool. What I'll do is I was thinking, because we've got so many people that have Handshake domain. Like if you own a Handshake domain and you don't mind, like, saying, hey, this is me or whatever, like drop a comment in the in this on the Spaces chat, and just like say, hey, I'm a proud Handshake user, proud Handshake owner of a domain. And also the ones who are attending, we'll do a draw. We'll give it a couple hours because I know we had problems with the space, like different segments. So we'll give some people a chance to tune in, and we'll do a post on the Spaces thread just so people can pile in, and we'll pick one winner. I'll give away 1,000 of my own MASQ for that user, which means if they hop into MASQ and they try the browser and they transfer that to the wallet that's in MASQ, they'll have premium, which means you get a couple extra cool features when you're using the browser. But of course, if you want to do other things with it, it's up to you. But I want to throw in 1,000 MASQ to one winner, a proud Handshake user. Hopefully it converts to being a MASQ Handshake user. And we'll do that. So I'll put some details out. So everyone who's got a Handshake domain, drop your favorite domain you own in there, and yeah, we'll pick someone.
Very cool. Very cool.
And you can add 3 wallets, because you know how the wallets work, right? You can't just have one wallet. It needs to be 3. So you use one, you keep one away so that you can, in case something breaks, you can recover everything with that second wallet. And the third one is the one you give away to somebody.
Wow, that's super cool, man. That is like super generous as well. So hey, is that the same winner, or are we doing a different winner for this?
Up to you, whatever you want to do, buddy. It's all you pick.
We don't want to keep people in suspense. How about we do one? So one winner who is going to be an HNS domain holder, puts their favorite domain in the chat in a comment, and then we'll pick one of them, and we'll pick one more listener live. We'll look through the last 2, this one and the last one that got cut off. We'll look at one of the active live stream listeners, and we'll pick one of you guys. We'll hit you up in DM from MASQ, from our official account, and we'll give away the 3 SafePals and ship it anywhere in the world. So, we'll do it through, like make sure it's all private and stuff. I won't be doing it. It'll be, our dear friend Action here.
You don't have to give the real name, as long as you can get it through customs. It's fine.
That's right. Could be anybody. So, yeah. And yeah, thanks again for coming on, Andrew. I know you're a busy guy, but I mean, it's been an awesome call. Sorry about the tech issues, but we covered a lot, and it's super exciting to see where we go from here with our partnership.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And yeah, we'll to finish up, Action, if you want to queue up, if you do have a little tune, I'll just send everybody off with just rolling out where to find out about us. Obviously, if you're from the Handshake community and you want to find out about MASQ, hop onto maskbrowser.com. Check us out. We've also got our partnership announcement with Handshake on our blog there. A little bit of a sneak stealth launch there. If you go to the blog, you'll also see our website that we're about to relaunch live, which is cool. But you can download the software now. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. If you're a MASQ community member and you're just learning about Handshake, the happening is happening now. They've got some awesome domains up for sale. They've got the auction now. There's several ways you can bid. You can do it on-chain with self-custody wallets like Bob Wallet. Horrific is the main man who's built that, I believe. So that's super awesome. But you can also do it on Namebase, which is trailblazing the way with Handshake support from Namecheap officially. They bought Namebase, so you can find namebase.io. Lets you bid, lets you search domains. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. You can manage the DNS for the domain right there and find out more. And if you want to learn about the tech too, handshake.org. Love hearing from everybody in the comments, and hop into our Discord if you do want to chat more with us, discord.gg/mask. And yeah, I think that's everything. That's
You guys
us.
are awesome. Thank you so much, Corey. Thank you, Andrew, for hopping on and hanging out. This has been phenomenal. Honestly, it's great to hear when we can, align with other projects that know how important privacy is, and are is doing something good for the space. So I appreciate you, not only a partnership but coming out and having a chat with us.